Hello and welcome to another Sakura duel in Sakura Arms. Today, my opponent is Mr. ArYahn, and our matchup is gonna be me as Megumi and Tokoyo, and him as Oboro and Yurina. Now, I know this pair very well, though I like their A1 versions a lot more. I'm well familiar with how they work and the duel's options. I think that went a long way in the match. For those that aren't playing on Mengulu's mod, links in the description, but are instead using L99 version or using Tabletopia, you might not know Megumi. Though the A1s and A2s only change a few cards, I'll at least glance over Megumi's mechanics so you know what's happening. Basically, Megumi has access to a subboard, much like Talia's. In there we have 5 seed tokens. These tokens interact primarily with Megumi's enchantment cards. All her cards with growth X mean that when you play that enchantment, you can put X number of sprouted seed tokens from your field on that enchantment. And the way you sprout these seed tokens is just by playing enchantment cards from any goddesses. And that's pretty much the gist of it. As for the match itself, I'm expecting high aggression from his deck. So for Tokoyo I'll bring Polite Return, Glancing Strike, and Sunny Stage. And for Megumi, I'm gonna bring Tresh, Pummel Thrust, Reed, and Multiflora. And for specials, I'm gonna go with Ruth of Causality, Perpetual Wind, and Immortal Flower. I think this combination got some very strong defensive tools with Polite Return and Pommel, as well as a lot of pressure on both aura and health. But the deck requires good draws and precise timing, especially when not bringing Rabbit Step. So into considerations. Rabbit Step is the first one to pop to mind, as a good get off me tool, and a good lineup for a Glancing Strike. Both of the other Megumi's attacks that get stronger with Seed Tokens Sprouter, or give growth to other enchantments, are also really strong attacking options, if you can stay at the mid-range, long range. In terms of specials, aside from Branch and Fruit, they're all pretty easy to slap on and are completely matchup independent. Not that Branch and Fruit aren't good, it's just that they're much harder to use. This is a strong pair in my opinion, and almost all cards are playable. Now, on to the match. I start by mulliganing 2 cards, Tresh and Pummel, and get Reed and Multiflora from the top. Multiflora is a nice first card to have, and I start by playing it. It blooms a seed token and lets me do a basic action, which I use to walk forward. On his turn, my opponent discards a card and spends 1 vigor to walk forward twice. Turn 2. I play Reed, blooming another seed and using one of my aura to power it, since there's nothing on Shadow as of now. After that, I use 1 vigor to move forward and discard Sunny Day to focus 1. On his turn, Reed disenchants, and he starts off by setting Overall. Then he discards a card and spends 1 vigor to move forward twice, and starts applying pressure with a slash, a 3-1 attack, which I take to life. Maybe I could have taken to aura here because of Overall, but I was afraid of a 2 health follow-up. Anyway, turn 3 comes around, and I'm at a good distance. First, Glancing Strike, which sadly he induces out of the way. Then after pondering a bit, I decide to step back and Tresh, just to start my own pressure, as well as wait for Polite Return to be a useful card. On his turn, Overall disenchants, and I Pummel Strike out of the way. He then spends a vigor and a card to move forward twice and attacks with Brandish, a 2-2 attack, which I take to aura. Turn 4, time to reshuffle. I'm just gonna spend 1 vigor to recover and Sunny Stage, blooming another seed token. This allows me to keep a Polite Return and try to get more cards to mount some better structure pressure. On his turn, my opponent reshuffles as well, but plays steel strings first from the discard pile. I take it to aura, and now my aura is 0. This is very dangerous, but what I'm really afraid of is the second possible strings, or brandish, so I keep polite return for the follow-up. The second strings does come, and I polite return them. Then he moves forward to get out of the way of Sunny Stage and passes. Turn 5, I start by playing Reed and using growth 1 on it after it initializes. We're distance 4 now, and the new mastery is 3. Paying 1 flare, I use Perpetual Wind. He discards Induce and takes it to aura, going down to 2. Now Tresh is a 3-2 because of the seed token on Reed, so it goes straight to health. I finish my turn and Perpetual Wind resurges. Keep it in mind, since I moved the Sakura token from Reed and not the seed, distance is still 4 and mastery is still 3. On his turn, he just recovers and passes. Turn 6, Reed disenchants. Looks like a good opportunity to play Multiflora and gather some cards. A seed sprouts and I take 2 seed tokens to pump Multiflora, taking 2 recover actions, one from Initialize and one from the end of turn clause on Multiflora. His turn. Multiflora doesn't lose tokens on opponent's turn. He plays the 2-2 brandish and I Pummel Strike out of the way. He moves forward with vigor and Multiflora procs, putting us back at range 4. He then discards a card and moves forward again. Turn 7. Multiflora loses 1 charge, I reshuffle and draw a pretty aggressive hand. We can almost see a repeat of turn 5 here. I start by Perpetual Wind for some info. He shows me 2 close range attacks, so I'm feeling safe. I poke again with Brutes. He knows that I have Tresh in the deck and he takes it to live, so I insist on it with Pummel Strike. He takes the bait this time and moves the Petal from aura to shadow instead of distance, which I correct later. After Pummel, I do Glancing Strike, which I forget to put it on top, but also correct later. And finally the 3-2 Tresh. Sadly he reacts that one with Uranami Storm and takes 1 to aura while doing 2 to mine. Dangerous, but Multiflora is up, so I know it's hard for him to come close. I use the 2 vigor left over to recover twice and the Multiflora end of turn action for the 3rd recover. He reshuffles and starts his turn by slashing. I'm feeling confident. He still has 3 cards, but I know 2 of them, so I take it to life. He's getting close to low life, so I also want to get some flair for Immortal Flower. Anyway, he walks forward to range 3 and Multiflora puts us back to range 4. He discards a card to go back to 3 and passes his turn. Turn 8, Multiflora disenchants and I draw the perfect Reed plus Glancing Strike. I walk forward with Vigor and play Reed to go back to range 4 and then Glancing Strike him. He's at 3 life. Now I'm expecting him to do some high damage stuff. At this point, I'm a bit afraid of Final Blow or just general damage output since he's gonna have 4 cards. I pass the turn to him and he starts off by Mikazura, which I take to aura. He then focuses with 1 vigor and discards a card for the second focus. Oh, it's not Final Blow, it's Crush. This is dangerous, I thought. And it was Crush indeed, 4 damage to life, which looks trouble, but I still have 3 aura and access to Immortal Flower now. He discards another card to recover and passes. Turn 9. Reed disenchants, I draw Sunny Stage and Polite Return, so I have to play a bit defensive, and I hope he can't deal 1 life damage. I recover and play Sunny Stage. His turn. He takes 1 aura damage and draw his last card, and I remember to research Perpetual Wind. He uses 1 vigor to walk forward and discards a card to recover and passes. Very passive play from our opponent here. From what I've seen from his deck, he could have been pressuring a lot more here. I'm reminded of my Signet game that I threw over playing Too Afraid. Turn 10. Sunny Stage disenchants and I take my second to last life to reshuffle. There were some other hands that could win me the game here, but this is probably the safer one. I play Perpetual Wind to poke for 1 aura, and he shows me 2 attacks, so I'm positive I have the kill here. I discard Stage to retreat, and use 1 Vigor to step back to get in glancing range. I raw Polite Return to get rid of his aura, but he takes it to life. Glancing Strike follows up, and Immortal Flower finishes him off. He thinks about going back and taking the Polite Return to aura, but it wouldn't matter anyway, since he'd just take the damage from reshuffle with 0 aura instead. On postmortem, he says he was afraid to Polite Return, and honestly, I'll admit that it's really frustrating to get Polite Returned, but sometimes you just gotta bite it off and play it into the counters. Yeah, it hurts, but if you don't make them use it, they're just gonna hold it. We have some Crush versus Final Blow discussion, as well as some other options like building more towards Oboro, and how he didn't call Trop me once. Still, a very good and very close game. Now, if you liked the video, give it a like, you can leave it a comment if you have anything to say on the match, and subscribe for more of these matches. Thank you, and I see you in the next one.